Hello everyone, Rurikhan here, bringing you guys another Cast. This is going to be Cast number 6, if I am not completely out of my mind yet. And today is the 1st of March. Although you guys are only going to be watching this on the 2nd of March, because my video release schedule is pretty full today already. With all the God of War stuff that we've had and whatnot. So this particular Cast, if I look a little bit tired than normal, I'm going to be taking stuff a little bit slower. Usually I have this really big list of topics to go through, and I try to go through everything as fast as possible. On this particular Cast, I'm going to take it slow, take my time. I've made not so many topics because I'm just completely tired and destroyed. And you guys might be wondering, well, why don't you do it later on? Because I want to do it while the experience of the whole God of War press event thing is still fresh in my head. So that's why I wanted to do it today, which is the day after the whole God of War thing happened. And I want to talk a lot about that, but I'm also going to be talking about Dark Souls, Far Cry 3, Dragon Age, PlayStation Plus incoming, and a Portuguese gaming website called PortugalGaming. So those are the topics for today. Before we actually get started on any of this, I would like to give special thanks to someone whose name I will most likely butcher. Dude, I'm so sorry. I'm going to totally butcher your name. But I think it's Wouter Storteboom. I'm sorry. I have no idea. Maybe it's Wouter Storteboom, because he's from the Netherlands. So I assume it's Wouter Storteboom, something like that. Thank you very much, because he made a donation. Thank you very much for donating to the cause. That's incredibly nice of you. And I would also like to give a special thanks to everyone who watches my videos on a regular basis, because thanks to you guys, we have, and more importantly to those who watch, but more importantly to those who really share the content with everyone else, because those are the people that are basically making me grow more. The guys who hit like and stuff gets published on Twitter, that publish my stuff on Facebook, and maybe mention me in forums and stuff like that. Really, really special thanks to those people, as well as to everyone else that watches my channel on a regular basis. We have reached over 10,000 subscribers. And on the subject of subscribers, it's actually interesting, because as you guys know, I recently started making videos with Pallytime, and we got a lot of stuff that we're discussing that we want to do together and whatnot. And take your heads out of the gutter, because I'm tired, so stuff might come out a little bit wrong, but get your heads out of the gutter right now. And it was funny because Pallytime was like, so dude, do you check, like your statistics and stuff? I'm like, yeah, I check about how many views I get and whatnot. Oh, do you check like your subscribers and stuff? And I'm like, yeah, I check. I mean, no, not really. Because I mean, I always have that thing. I just see the subscriber number grow. I never really did any extensive analysis on it. I just kind of analyze more about the views, and usually like the stuff that gets more views, I usually assume, okay, so this is the stuff that people want to see. That's kind of how I base the programming on the channel. So as we were discussing this, I go and I watch subscriber analysis, and this was, I think, the analysis for the month of February, I want to say. I think it was between February and January. It was like the last 30 days from the day that I saw the thing. So I think it was between the 20th of January and the 22nd of February, I think. So that was like this analysis, and I had like subscribers gain like about 1,000. And I'm like, oh, it's pretty good. And no, was it 1,000? I'm not sure. It might have been more. I think it might have been like 1,300 something. And then it's like subscribers change, which was about 1,000 something, and subscribers lost, which was 300 and something. And I was like, whoa, I lost 300 subscribers. Up until that point, I never really realized that. I mean, I guess I always knew that people lose subscribers all the friggin' time. I mean, that's nothing really new. But I never really realized the amount of subscribers that I was bleeding out. I mean, obviously a lot more people are coming in, but I never really realized the amount of subscribers that I was losing along the way. And I'm always wondering, did I do something wrong that pissed these people off? I mean, I don't get it. I mean, I thought most people would subscribe to a channel based around the person, at least a channel like mine, based around the personality of the commentator. So I was really surprised with that number, but I guess it's normal, apparently. I mean, again, it just surprises me because usually when I subscribe to a specific channel, I mean, something very, very radical has to happen for me to unsubscribe. Because, like, for instance, I'm subscribed to Epic Name Bro, who used to make a lot of Dark Souls content. Lately, he's kind of been a little burned out on it. And it's like he puts out other videos about other stuff. And the thing is, I subscribe to his channel because of his personality. So even if he does different content, I still like watching the stuff, you know? So I was really like, I wonder if, I don't know. I guess I don't know as much of YouTube as I thought. Let me just get a sip of tea here. That's another thing. Unfortunately, as you guys know, like a long time ago, I mentioned to you guys I had some health issues regarding my liver and whatnot. And because of that, I'm currently on a special diet to try and fix my liver problems. And it's like I have to drink tea all the time, which is something I really, really don't appreciate. I really don't like tea. And on top of that, I'm supposed to drink tea without any sugar added on it. So it's like, I already hate tea, and if you give me tea that doesn't even taste good, and you can't even put any damn sugar on it, it's terrible. So basically, I'm like drinking about a liter. I don't even know how to say that measurement in English now that I think about it. It's not a liter, because a liter is a liter of kittens. It's the metric equivalent of a gallon, which I don't really remember. Litro? I mean, in Portuguese, it's litro, but I don't know. But I drink about one of those of tea per day, which is ridiculous. Look at where we've gone. We've gone from subscribers to drinking tea. It's just, like I said, I'm extremely tired. The last day was, yesterday was very, very tiresome, but also very, very incredible. And I can't wait to start talking about it. So let's get all the other stuff out of the way. So I said I want to talk a little bit about Dark Souls. As I've mentioned previously, I had a special project in mind for Dark Souls, which was going to be my last playthrough. However, a couple of opportunities have arisen, and I really don't want to spoil anything as of yet, but the project that I had prepared is not really going to be my next Dark Souls project. I'm actually preparing one as we speak, a new Dark Souls project, which I think you guys are going to enjoy. At least it's something that has been requested a couple of times, I think. So just know that there's something in the works for Dark Souls, and I still have another project after that in the back burner. It might not come immediately after my next project of Dark Souls, because I have to admit I am beginning to feel a little bit of the burn that that I guess Epic Name Bro felt as well, because even people say on my videos that they can tell that it looks like I'm a little bit burned out. And I'll be honest, while I'm doing the commentary, I don't feel that way, but I do feel sometimes that it's like I've went through the areas in Dark Souls so often and done commentary on them so often that sometimes I just feel like I wonder if people start looking at me like I'm just kind of exploiting Dark Souls in a way, and it's really not my objective at all. But the thing is, I feel I've done like all of this commentary on Dark Souls that just going through it again, I can't always do the same commentary, is what I'm saying, because it's just repetition. And a lot of people have even been asking, oh, you need to make this build and that build and the other build, and I'm just thinking, yeah, but those builds are kind of a repetition of stuff that I've done. Like, for instance, a lot of people have asked for a Leroy Jenkins build. Actually, Paladin Leroy build would be more correct. A lot of people have asked for a Paladin Leroy build, and it's like, look, a Paladin Leroy build is going to be just about the same as a Black Iron Tarkus build, because it's a strength-based build, except it has a couple of faith thrown in the mix, and it has a different weapon, which has a little bit of a different moveset. But the end result is going to be pretty much the same. It's going to smash stuff to bits by sheer strength and tank ability. It's the way that you do those things. So I don't know, but the thing is, the next Dark Souls playthrough that I'm going to do is going to be different from anything that I've done before. And I'll just leave that up to you guys to think, well, what do you mean? And it's not about the build itself. The build itself is actually going to be similar to the Black Iron Tarkus build. It's a very similar build to the Black Iron Tarkus, but the way that I'm going to be playing the game is going to be different. So, I mean, I'm just going to leave you guys with that little bit of a teaser. Oh, yeah, also regarding Dark Souls, a lot of you have been asking, oh, where's the final episode of the Black Iron Tarkus? That thing has been shot a long time ago. Let me just tell you that. That thing was shot somewhere, I think either in the middle of February or maybe even earlier. I don't even remember when I recorded. It's been recorded a long time. The reason I haven't released it yet is because, I mean, I'm trying to keep like a balance of releases in my channel. I definitely don't want to pull in a theme, which is the guy was like releasing one video per hour, spamming everyone's inbox. And look, I respect the Thien a lot. He's a troll and all that stuff, but he's funny, and I still like this content. But I mean, he was just obscuring everyone else's content in my YouTube inbox, which I found to be a little bit ridiculous. And I actually unsubscribed from him. But it's not that I don't respect the guy. It's just that, you know, enough is enough. I mean, I got my own limits. And I'm definitely trying not to pull that. I don't want to drive everyone to just watch my content, you know. I think YouTube is a medium where there's a lot of room for everyone. And I don't think that one person should be putting out tons and tons and tons of video a day and just expect everyone to watch his stuff. So I try to balance things out. I definitely don't want to do more than 3 videos a day. Tops, because my ideal thing is, I think, putting out 1 video a day is the ideal thing, because it leaves me a lot well, not really a lot, but it leaves me some free time to dedicate myself to alternate projects, where I can do stuff like collaborating with Pally Time or collaborating with other people. I have been talking with more people, that because one of the main things that I really always loved in this whole video making thing is really doing collaborations with other people who are passionate about making videos. It was one of my favorite things. It has always been. I've never kept it a secret, and it's just something that I've always done. However, here's the thing: I also don't want to be collaborating with total strangers, because I do realize that a lot of people send me, you know, sometimes requests like, oh, do a collab with me or play this game with me. And it's like, look, I mean, I want to do stuff with people that I know, you know, that I happen to be friends with and whatnot. I don't want to just like pick up random people that I have no idea who they are, because I wouldn't know how to expect, because I also hold the people who work with me, I hold them to very high standards of quality. So, I mean, because I hold myself to very high standards of quality. And we completely derailed from the Dark Souls topic, didn't we? Oh man, I'm going to take another sip of tea here. This is like Kast number 6, the relaxed edition. So something else I want to touch on is Far Cry 3. Several of you have asked that I finish the Far Cry 3 playthrough. And it has been done. It's already been done. There was just this one day where I actually was really tired because I had been working on it's something that's a real mystery to me, is that due to the way that I do my working schedule, which is I only stop when I feel that I'm done, and I never feel that I'm done. So I just keep on recording and editing and recording and editing. So what happened with Far Cry 3 was actually something interesting. I was like, oh man, I need a break. And I'm just like, I need to just play something that I can just, I don't know, just like shoot someone in the face or kill someone in the face, not have to think too much about it. And that's not saying that that's the kind of game that Far Cry is. It's just, it is a game that really lends itself to letting you play the way you choose. Except on that one video where I had to do that dumb stealth mission that I didn't really enjoy that much. But it is a game that really lends itself to allowing you to play how you want. So I was like, I'll just play some Far Cry, and I'll just do some of the island stuff. And then I was thinking, oh, but I really now that I'm playing Far Cry, I really want to do some of the story. So I'll just record and see how it goes. And I recorded 3 hours straight of Far Cry 3, and I played through the game all the way up until the end, and I loved it, and it was amazing. And I'm really glad that a lot of you guys told me to play Far Cry 3 all the way, because it was a really, really amazing experience. I had a lot of fun with it, and I mean, that's what I wanted to say, is the fact that the Far Cry 3 playthrough is indeed finished. All that remains is for me to upload the videos. Something else that also happened during Far Cry 3 is that I wanted to, as per usually I like doing, is I wanted to let the credits roll. And oh my god, the Far Cry 3 credits. Like, I made a video just for the credits, which I will upload as unlisted. And the main reason why I'm uploading it as unlisted is because I'm scared that I'll get, you know, like a content ID match or something, because basically I'm not going to do commentary during a video game's credits, you know, because it doesn't make any sense. So there's basically a lot of background music and a lot of stuff. So I just thought, look, I'll just upload as unlisted, and the final video will have a link to the credits. Because one of the things that I've always said is that I really respect the developers of video games, and I really want to put their names on the projects that I do, you know, all the commentary stuff that I do. If I play a game all the way, I like to show the development team behind it and whatnot, and everyone that was involved with the project. So I will be uploading a video with just the credits as well. And at the end of the playthrough, there's going to be a link in the description on the final episode that you guys can go and watch the credits if that's something you want to do. And I realize that a lot of people aren't really going to watch it, but I still feel it is impossible. It is impossible. It is imperative for that video to be there to acknowledge the video game creators and all that stuff. And God, I hate tea. Now, also, a lot of people have been asking, hey, what's going to happen with Dragon Age? What about Dragon Age? I had mentioned before that I wanted to do a live stream of me playing Dragon Age. I haven't really had the time, and I'm not sure when I'm going to have the time, because it, like I said, I've really been struggling to find time with planning my wedding. And because you guys know the kind of stuff that you got to do to plan a wedding. Oh my God, what a headache. Because, I mean, I always thought the big thing would be like people's indecisions is like, oh, do I really want to marry this person? You know, that was the kind of stuff that I always thought. To me, that was not the issue at all. My problem is like, oh, now we got to go here. Like, for instance, tomorrow I got to go to the guys who are in charge of the place where the wedding is going to take place. And we're going to need to taste proof. I think that's what you say in English. Taste proof some of the dishes that are going to be at the wedding. And yeah, that's just one of the many things. Like, also on the day that I did the God of War press conference, it's like I went from the press conference to do something with my wedding, related to my wedding, which is the wedding gifts. If you guys know what that is, like usually the bride and groom have to give away these small little trinkets, like souvenirs for all the guests that were at the wedding. So I went from a God of War press conference to the wedding gifts thing. And then I went back to another God of War event, and I was just like, oh my God, this is insane. So in all of that, what I'm trying to get at is that time hasn't really been on my side. Also, adapting to this new diet thing also consumes a lot of time as well, because I have to spend more time preparing my meals and whatnot. So yeah, I haven't been swimming in time, and that's why I haven't really sunk my teeth back into Dragon Age. So Dragon Age is taking a little bit of a hiatus, but it's definitely something that I want to come back to, so don't write it off just yet. Something else that I wanted to talk about was the new show that I've started producing, which is PlayStation Plus Incoming. You guys might be wondering, so you're like getting sponsored by Sony or something? I mean, you even got to go to the God of War press event. No, I am not being sponsored. Excuse me. I'm not being sponsored by Sony in any way, shape, or form. Although I would have to say that if I was to get sponsored by like a major console, I mean, if we look at things right now, there's 3 major consoles, and then there's PC gaming, which is obviously the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, and currently the Wii U, which was previously the Wii, whatever. So Microsoft, whom I hate with a passion, I mean, sure, Microsoft, you want to sponsor me? Go ahead. No, but seriously, I'm not that interested in Microsoft, and I'm not invested in the Xbox universe at all. And once again, like I always like saying, that's not to say that whoever is interested in Microsoft and invested in the Xbox community and all that stuff, it's not to say that you're wrong. Because a lot of people, when someone says, oh, I'm kind of a PlayStation guy, they immediately assume that you hate the Xbox. No, I mean, I think like some people value certain games, and it's all a matter of taste in the end. Like, you've got your Xbox exclusive stuff, like your Gears of War, your Halos, and all that stuff. And those are great games. A lot of people will even start these wars like, oh no, those games are terrible, my exclusives are better, and blah, 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 blah. And in all honesty, no. I mean, I think those are great games, and if you're invested in that, that's awesome. And there's not really anything else I want to say about that particular subject. It's just, look, the one console I'm really invested in is the PlayStation. I've already explained to you guys 1,000 times over that I'm a huge God of War fan. I also like Infamous. I became an Uncharted fan when I bought my PlayStation because it came with Uncharted. I'm a huge Wipeout fan as well. I'm one of the reasons I also purchased the PlayStation 3 was Demon Souls, which is not available on Xbox. So, I mean, I'm more invested in the Sony ecosystem. And then you have the whole service level of things, which you got your Xbox Live service and you got the PlayStation Plus service, which is also, once again, I'm more invested in the PlayStation Plus service because, in my opinion, and to my taste, it is better value for my money. And again, I will always say this, that there's the two sides of the coin. There's people to whom the Xbox Live services are better. And I agree that that's a perfectly valid point of view. To me, I prefer the PlayStation Plus. So obviously, I've always had a little bit of trouble keeping up to date with what's going on with PlayStation Plus. As a matter of fact, like every week on Wednesday, I would log into my PlayStation instead of checking the blog. I would log into my PlayStation and go to the store, check out the Instant Games collection to make sure that I would always download stuff from there. So that's kind of where I thought that this show could really fill in that gap, because that way I'll have to do the research anyways. And I'll just check for both stores for North America and Europe and keep updating you guys whenever they do stuff that relates with PlayStation Plus to make sure that nobody ever really misses anything. So far, you guys have been thankful for it. And I once again, I just hope this isn't one of those things that people start saying, oh, he's a PlayStation guy. Let's bash him because we're Xbox and this is a war. And it's like, to be completely honest, I think people need to really grow out of that whole this is a war mentality. People really need to grow into a different mentality, which is, at the end of the day, we're all gamers and we're all consumers, and there's no need for us to be warring with each other. People will have different tastes, and the only thing that the only people who actually benefit from this console war, so to speak, is whoever puts more money into exclusives. And in my opinion, that really shouldn't be the point. I mean, to me, the point is like, look, every game, there should be no exclusives. This is my opinion. I would rather there be no exclusives. Even though I picked my console based on exclusive content, I would probably still have picked my PlayStation because one of my best friends plays a PlayStation and I wanted to play games with him. So that was another reason why I picked up the PlayStation. But anyways, this is a completely different topic altogether. I just wanted to tell you guys that I've been working a lot on this PlayStation Plus incoming thing. And as you guys see, I've changed the layout a couple of times. I even purchased a special background music thing to play in the background while it's going, so that I felt that the last episode I did, which included updates from both the European store and the North American store, I felt that it looked like it was professionally produced, which was something that I was really proud of. I felt it looked good, in my opinion. The latest PlayStation Plus incoming episode, which is something I really enjoyed. And the reason for bringing up PlayStation Plus now is because, I mean, PlayStation 4 is going to be coming up, and I'm very curious to see what happens with PlayStation Plus once the PlayStation 4 comes out. And I wanted to be someone who report on it. I also did a search in regards to make sure I'm not stepping on anybody's toes or anything. And there's another show that I saw that also did PlayStation Plus updates, but it was a little bit different, and I gave my own twist to the whole thing. So I'm hoping I'm not stepping on anyone's toes at least. But anyways, I thought PlayStation Plus incoming was an original idea, and in the future I might even do like stuff that I feel. Because I mean, I feel I know my audience a little bit with the games that I play, and the way you guys comment on the games that I play and whatnot. So I'm also planning on maybe speaking about stuff that gets released on the PlayStation Store that maybe is not Plus exclusive, but that relates to you guys as my audience. But that's something that's still in the works. So yeah. PlayStation Plus incoming. You guys can expect me to keep on doing that because you guys have really received it well, as far as I can tell. So that's going to keep on happening. I'm going to keep on checking the PlayStation blogs pretty much every day and keep on reporting on it as much as possible. So now I guess we get to the really thing that I really wanted to talk about, which is the whole God of War thing. And the first thing you guys are going to ask is, how did you do it, man? How did you get into the press event? What happened? And it all started with a good friend of mine whom I met in college. And he messaged me on Skype and told me, oh, I've been working with these guys over at this website. It's called Portugal Gaming, and you guys can check it out. I'm going to leave links in the description. It's called Portugal Gaming. We do news in Portuguese and whatnot. And a lot of you have always asked, I mean, at least a lot of the Portuguese people always asked, why don't you do stuff in Portuguese? And I've always said, I don't do stuff in Portuguese because there's really not a lot of investment in gaming in Portugal. And there really isn't. That hasn't really changed. So whenever I did stuff in Portuguese, because I have done Portuguese projects in the past, it's just they haven't really been related to YouTube. But I have done a couple of projects in Portuguese in the past, but they pretty much all sunk. The videos that I did when I was doing those projects, I was really proud of those videos. But the thing is, nobody really ever watched that stuff. Nobody cared. And I ended up kind of dumping those projects because not only I was spending a lot of time working on that stuff, because I tried doing these projects in ways that would distribute work throughout friends of mine, but the problem is they all had jobs and whatnot. I was the only one who was really doing all this video thing, trying to make a living out of it. So I mean, I ended up with most of the work, and at the end of the day, it was like I was doing my channel, then I was doing this stuff, and during those days was also when I was doing TGN. So I was doing stuff for TGN, I was doing stuff for my channel, I was doing stuff for my Portuguese projects, and it was just like, oh, this is impossible, never going to be able to do this. And since the Portuguese project was the ones that were always, you know, kind of met with the least amount of success, I ended up not really getting into those as much. But this time it's a little bit different because, I mean, my friend introduced me to the guy who's running this website, PortugalGaming.pt, and we were talking, and they were saying, oh, we don't really have a presence on YouTube. That's something we would like to do. And I said, well, I could try and make videos for you guys, but I already have my own project, and I'm never going to let anything get in the way of that again, because in the past, sometimes I've neglected my personal project of making videos and whatnot to favor other projects, and I've always had bad experiences with that, because like I neglect my own project to help all these other things that are happening at the time, and then like I'm always the one who is hurt most, because again, my personal projects are the ones that aren't really happening. So I talked to them and I said, look, I'd be willing to make a weekly video thing for you guys. I think that would be a good starting point, and we could see where things go from there. So that way, if I make like a weekly video for them, I'm still doing projects in Portuguese, which I know that all my Portuguese and Brazilian fans want to see me do, because you guys are all saying, oh, do something in Portuguese, do something in Portuguese. Well, I'm going to put a link, besides the website, I'm going to put a link to their YouTube channel, which is something that I will also be working on throughout these next couple of months, and we'll see how that works out. Currently, the plan is to make like a weekly gaming recap news thing in Portuguese. And I'm even thinking that maybe if, I'm even thinking that there's a possibility that I'll even translate that into English and do an English version of that, and I could put that on my channel. But I don't know, because again, that would be a whole lot more work being placed on top of me, which is something that I really don't need right now, because like I said, I'm already struggling a little bit for time. But it is something that I would like to do, a project in Portuguese, and for this particular website, there's like a whole team behind me with news and whatnot, so I wouldn't really have to worry too much about researching the news themselves. They would give me news that they would want me to make videos about, and I will make videos about those particular news, put a couple of trailers in the background, you know, that kind of stuff. And that's something that I would like to try out, so that might be something where you guys might see content from me in that channel. So if you guys want to subscribe, that particularly Portuguese people, obviously, you guys can check it out. The channel is going to be in the description, and the website's going to be in the description as well. The website's going to be in Portuguese, but you guys can use Google to translate it to English if you guys are looking for a good news outlet. Can also go there and check that out. And they were the ones responsible for getting me into this whole God of War thing, because they said, this was told to me on the 25th, which was funny. On the 25th of February, they tell me, oh, also, we were invited by Sony to go to this God of War thing. And I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. And the guy goes like, but we don't really have anyone to go there. And I'm like, oh, you don't? That's interesting. And they're like, so you want to like go there? And I'm like, man, you goddamn right I want to go there. I mean, it's friggin' God of War, which is a project that, if you guys remember in a couple of videos back, maybe even during Cast, I don't really remember, but I've said that I wanted to do God of War on my channel. I've been wanting to do God of War on my channel for quite some time. If you guys go to last year's videos, I mean, I don't even remember which video exactly, because I put out so much content that it's just ridiculous for me to even think about remembering one specific video. But there were videos in the past where I said I was going to like, oh, I'm going to play through God of War in chronological order. And that was a project sometime within the last year that was about really to get started. And then what happened was God of War Ascension was announced, and it was a prequel. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. So this new game is coming out, and it's before all the other games took place. So this would be a prequel to everything. So if I start doing this project now, it wouldn't really be in full chronological order, because by the time I finish, maybe God of War Ascension will have come out, and obviously that happens before all the other stuff. So I ended up holding back on the project in wait for God of War Ascension. And when God of War Ascension started getting closer, I was like, you know, preparing, because I got into the whole multiplayer beta thing. You guys saw that on my channel. And that's something that I actually really grew attached to. I didn't really knew that I was going to get so much into the multiplayer aspect of God of War Ascension. And it was really cool. I loved it. Like, I really enjoyed that multiplayer. Even though you guys saw me bitch a lot about the swords and whatnot being overpowered, I still had a really fun time, because it wasn't like a shooter-based multiplayer. It was a smack people around the face multiplayer, which is something I could really get into. So on top of that, you guys know that I wanted to do the playthrough of God of War Ascension and then do all the other Gods of War. And when they told me about this chance to go and meet the developers of God of War in a press event, I was two things: extremely excited and extremely nervous, because I'm like, so I'm actually gonna get to make an interview. You know, I was kind of like in that stage that I was really nervous because I had never done an interview before in my life. I don't think I ever did an interview, let alone an interview that I really wanted to make, which was with developers of a game that I am ridiculously interested in. I mean, remember when I told you guys God of War 3 was one of the reasons why I bought a PlayStation 3. So I love the God of War franchise. So I was excited about it. And I was nervous. Like, you guys should have seen me on Skype during those days. I was always like hitting them up. Look, guys, I need you guys to get me those questions because obviously since they were the ones who got me there, I wanted to ask the questions that they wanted to ask. So they gave me the questions in Portuguese and I started sorting through the questions. I changed them a little bit to English to kind of make the interview, you know, to not just be one of the, I didn't want it to do the typical interview where the guy just like, so we wanted to know why did you guys do the multiplayer? And, you know, I wanted to have a more passionate interview. And I think that really went through in the interview. At least I think that was expressed during the interview. Even though you guys saw me a lot of times looking at the paper, was mostly because I was nervous and I didn't memorize the questions. I mean, those were 3 days. They gave me the questions like midnight of the 26th. So like I had 1 day to translate and order the questions as I saw fit to prepare them to go for the next day. So as you guys can see, I didn't have a lot of time to prepare. One of the things I would have liked then would be to actually memorize the questions and then just ask the questions without even looking at a piece of paper. But I knew that was going to be impossible because I'm also terrible at memorizing stuff. I believe I've told you guys that my memory is horrible. So, I mean, obviously I was nervous, so I took the piece of paper with me where I had all the questions. And like I said, I changed some of the questions I never even asked because I felt that they weren't really relevant questions. And I changed up some of the questions to be more, you know, more friendly towards the developer to kind of, you know, get a little bit of more of a conversation going and not really an interview. That's the point where I tried to get at. It was just like two guys chatting, and instead of me asking questions, I was mostly trying to give him topics to talk about. And at the end of the day, it was a really great experience. So they gave me the questions. I went to this press event thing. Like I was even like, I had never been to Sony. So I want to tell you guys about that specific day. I had never even been to that particular Sony building because Sony were in a place in Portugal. I believe a lot of you guys probably heard of something called Expo 98, which was one of the biggest events that ever really took place in Portugal. And during the age of Expo 98, Sony had a really big building in a location that we now call the Nations Park. And that was the only really building that I knew that Sony had. And I knew that they weren't there anymore because people told me they had moved out to a different building, so I didn't know where the current Sony building was. So I wanted to leave the house as early as possible to make sure that I would find the building, because I'm terrible with directions. Like I'm good at driving, but I'm terrible at finding places. I'm horrible. Like I totally rely on my GPS, which is like 7 years old. The maps on my GPS are 7 years old. And a lot of times I have troubles finding places. And this was one of the places I was having trouble finding. And what happened was I also had no fuel on my car that day. I had like enough for 50 kilometers or something. I don't know. So the first thing I had to do was get out of the house and fuel my car. So I get out of the house, I go to the usual fuel pumps that I always go to when I'm on my way to Lisbon. And I get to the fuel pumps, and what happened was hilarious. So there's this woman there at the pumps, like one of the pump workers, and she tells me, "Oh, we actually don't have any fuel today. We're closed." And I was like, "What? This has never happened to me my whole life. I never went to a fuel pump that didn't have fuel." Wait a second. I'm saying fuel pump, and that's just the way we say it in Portuguese. You guys probably say it like fuel station or something, because the fuel pump is. But whatever. In Portugal, we say fuel pump, and it's probably a different thing translated. But it's the place where you go to fuel your car. So they have no fuel, and I'm like, okay. So I look at the indicator that tells me how many kilometers the car can still run, and it says 25. And I know that the bridge that I had to go through was about 12. And then I had like at least 8 more to go through to get to the approximate place of where I thought the building would be. And I'm like, well, I can't really wait, because they said if I had wait, they would take me to a place through some kind of weird back door they had to go get fuel on a different road. But I would have to come back in through the same place. So they would need to basically take someone with me to make sure that I would come back. Because this is all because to avoid me from doing some kind of toll booth scam, you know, to make sure that I pay the roads that I go through. So what ended up happening is she said, look, but you're going to have to wait a while. And this was, I think it was 10 a.m. at this point. And the event was at 11 a.m. And I was thinking, man, I have to get there. I have to find where the building is. I don't have that much time. So I'm like, look, I'm going to risk it. So I go to Lisbon with like no fuel on my car almost. I head straight into Lisbon. I go to the place where I think the building is going to be, because we looked through Google Maps and we saw this approximate location of where the building could be. So I go there, and there's like a shopping center on that area. So I'm like, I'm just going to park at the shopping center, because parking your car in Lisbon is just balls out crazy. It's insane, the number of cars that go through Lisbon, and finding a parking spot is something really ridiculously hard. So I'm like, I'm just going to park here in the shopping center, and then I'm going to go on foot and find this building. So I park my car, and this is like 10:30. I'm not sure, something like that. So I go outside, and I'm like, okay, now I just got to find this building. So I start walking, and I walked like, I don't know, maybe half a mile or something outside of the shopping center, until we finally ran into some cops, and I tried getting some information. I asked, like, look, you know where the Rock 1 building is? And they're like, what the hell is the Rock 1 building? And I'm like, it's the Sony building. And oh, okay, that's like way back there. And they tell me a reference that the reference of a place that I knew. They said it's between the BMW and the BMW and Ford stands. And I was like, holy crap. That was like at least 5 miles away. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to walk that distance. I'm going to have to go back to the shopping center, back to my car, and find that damn place. And at this point, it's like 10:45. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm rushing back, me and my girlfriend, because she was with me. She was going to be working the camera throughout the whole thing. So we're just basically running back to the shopping center, getting back on the car, and then just driving as fast as possible. And I'm looking at the fuel indicator. Fuel indicator is like, you can drive for 6 more kilometers. And I'm like, holy shit. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is so bad. I'm going to run out of fuel. I'm not going to be able to get to this place. It's going to be insane. But eventually I go through a place, and I noticed that it said Sony, but it's like this thing, it was like embedded onto a bigger building. Like the front of the building came a lot further out, and there was no Sony logo, no nothing. And I was like, oh my God, we finally found it. I was able to park the car. By the time I parked the car, it said 4 kilometers left of fuel. And I was like, oh my God. It's like, I'm going to get out of this conference, and that's it. I'm not leaving here. But actually, there was another pump close by, which so I was kind of lucky. I still managed to fuel my car after the conference, but it was hilarious. So I'm getting there, and you guys can imagine the pile of nerves I already have on me, because like, fuel pumps don't have fuel. I can't find this goddamn building. I've never been in a press event. I have no fragging idea what the hell I'm doing here. But I was just like, trying to keep it cool. So we get inside. I explained my girlfriend kind of how the camera we had works, because every camera sometimes has its little nuances and whatnot. This was a pretty simple one. I just said, look, you just have to turn it on, hit record, and zoom in and out if the thing goes out of focus. Because again, I'm not the best camera operator either. As a matter of fact, one thing I've learned during this press event is that I really, really, really need to practice on the usage of a camera while I'm at a location, because it's like, you know, using a camera here at my house, it's pretty easy. Like I'll grab the damn thing, put it on a tripod, set up the tripod the way I want. That's it, no problem. But I mean, when you're actually out and about, it's a completely different story. It's an art in of itself, which is why you guys saw throughout the videos that I released of this God of War thing that I did, you guys saw a whole bunch of times repositioning camera, and, you know, and you also noticed a lot of shaky camera, most likely. I mean, during the fan event, even what happened was a lot of the times the camera would shake is simply because my right arm was killing me. Like I was holding the camera like this so that I would have increased stability. And it was ridiculous. You guys have no idea. My right arm was just completely insane with pain for me holding. And it's not even such a big camera. Let me just unhook it here. It's not even such a big camera. It's this little thing. But the thing is, when you're holding this little thing like this for like 15 minutes and try to keep it as straight as possible, and I was actually holding it like this to have even less of a vibration, it's just insane. Like your arm starts going numb, your hand starts becoming uncomfortable, everything in your body starts to itch. It's a pain in the ass. But basically, I explained her the basics of the camera so that she would shoot during the interview and whatnot. And I also took another camera with me, which was my flip. You guys know that I also have a flip camera. So I also took the flip, and I had my Vita there. I was like, man, I'll fraggin' film this with my HD camera. I'll film this with my flip. I'll pull out my goddamn Vita and film it with my Vita if I have to. So that was my thought going into the whole thing. So then we get to the press event. This guy starts talking, and I'm like, I don't even know what to expect. I was wondering, can I even be standing up? Like, I don't know if that's allowed. And then as more professional people who actually knew what the hell they were doing were getting there, I was like, man, crap, I shouldn't have sat down. I should have stayed up so that I could get as better footage. And, you know, and in future press events, that's something I'm definitely going to be doing. It's like if I have access and I get invited to more events like those, one of the things I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be standing up, you know, frack sitting down, because if you're sitting down, it's a pain in the ass to actually film stuff. I guess that's why professional journalists have their own film crew, so that they can be focusing on the presentation and some other guy can be filming stuff for them. And yeah, I had my girlfriend to film stuff for me, but it's like she's obviously not as good as I am with a camera, and I'm terrible with a camera. So, you know, that I mean, that says a lot. But anyways, so we're at this event. We start filming pretty much everything the developers were saying. Then the developers start playing the game. We filmed the guy playing the game, and then they tell me, you can't actually publish that until the 7th of March. And the funny thing is, what they were playing was what I had played the day before. It was the single-player demo, and I was like, that's weird, why not? But I guess it had something to do with maybe the fact that that was the final version, and it had a couple of things that were different from the demo, and I can't even talk about those things because they said you can't even talk about it. You can't even talk about it. So I can't even say what those things were. But yeah, it was a little bit different than the demo, but I can't talk about it. So we filmed the whole presentation, and we filmed the whole question thing because we had some people ask a couple of questions after they played the game. I even asked one question. I was the guy who asked. If you guys watched that particular video, it was called God of War Ascension Press Event. In that video, I think it was like the second or third question was me, where I asked like if the God of War Ascension also predated Chains of Olympus, or did it only predate God of War 1? Because it was important for me to know, because I wanted to know, because otherwise I would have to do Chains of Olympus before God of War Ascension. But apparently no, they told me it predated everything. So unless the lead developers of the game don't know what they're talking about, God of War Ascension is a prequel to the whole God of War story, which is actually funny because a lot of people who are not invested in the God of War universe, this is actually the perfect game for people to start playing, because it's the very first, chronologically wise, it is the very first thing in the series. So I think that's also pretty much a good selling point for God of War Ascension. So after this presentation, they're like, okay, so now you're gonna have some time to, to eat something. They had food for us there, even though due to the special diet because of my liver thing that I'm doing, I couldn't actually eat anything they had there. But I wasn't really that hungry. Anyways, I was just more a mix of nervous and excited, and yeah. So after that, people start going into interviews, and I thought that I was actually going to get to interview both of them, but apparently what they did was, since there was so many people there, they split people into groups. So like half the people got to do an interview with Mark Simon, the other half got to do an interview with Jason McDonald. We did the interview with Jason McDonald, and it was awesome. But both of them are really two nice guys. I got a chance to talk a little bit with them after the interview, kind of off record, and they were two extremely approachable guys. Like, I mean, I always had this idea in my head that developers would be, video game developers would be kind of those individuals, kind of like the Hollywood people, like, what, I'll talk to you the least amount possible, and then I'll freaking don't even want to address you. Like, I'll just do whatever it needs for me to be polite. No, these guys like went above and beyond. These guys were really amazing. Like, I got a chance to speak a little bit with them, and they were awesome. They were two really, really nice guys, just really down to earth. And it was amazing. Like, I was doing this interview, like, really nervous, and the way that he was replying to my question, it was making me feel really comfortable, and it was amazing. Like, I can only expect every developer in the video game industry to be like these two individuals, but I know they're probably not. But anyways, I'm just throwing that out there. It was a really amazing interview, and I had a lot of fun while I was there. So we did the interview that you guys probably already seen, which was actually something funny because, like, before we did the interview, they had told me before we went in that there were going to be like 3 stations there with the game, and the third station was going to actually have the review copy of the game, which means it actually had more than the demo. So they had 2 stations with the demo version of the game, and then 1 station which had like an extended version. So I go into so while I'm waiting for my time to do the interview, I just go into the station that has the game. I start playing through, I rushed through the whole demo sequence, and I actually went further on than the demo. I got to play a little, not too much. I played a little bit of the game after the demo, and obviously I can't talk about that. But it was funny because a lot of people were like looking at me saying, "What the crap is that guy doing?" Like, and I was like, "So what are these people doing?" Like, everybody there, when the press event kind of took a break, everybody started, like, eating, drinking coffee, talking amongst each other. I was hearing people talking about Mass Effect 3 and Dead Space 3, and I'm like, what the crap are these people doing? I mean, there's a station here that has the full game, and nobody's playing on it. Like, I'm going to play this bitch until I have to actually do my interview. Like, I was playing the whole time. And it's not like I was being a douchebag, like people were staring over my shoulder like, hey, you're going to let that go. No, nobody showed any interest in actually watching the game past the point of the demo. And I was like, I don't understand this. What are these people doing? I don't get it. I mean, maybe this is just a job for them and they don't really care. But I was like, I'm going to play this as far as I can get. And there was actually a point where, like, the organizers and stuff started looking at me a little bit, and I was like, because I told my girlfriend to film the stuff. I mean, I knew I couldn't show it, but I wanted to have it. And eventually, at the 7th of March, I might release that footage and tell you guys about it. But it's like they were like looking at me like, oh, that guy, he's gonna be problems, that guy. So I'm like, maybe I should stop and, I don't know, sit down and try to talk to other people. But it was a lot of fun. It was really, really a lot of fun because I was just playing. Like, I don't care. I think whatever. I'm waiting for my time to do my interview. I'm just gonna play this game and have as much fun as I possibly can. So After that, I sat down for a bit. I talked a little bit with one of the organizers that actually do the events and whatnot, you know, to kind of get some more information because I had never been in an event like that. And obviously, I want to be able to do so again to give you guys more content, you know, more exclusive content, hopefully more developer interviews, stuff like that, because I want to get better at this, obviously. I mean, this was the very first time I got to do something like this. And even though a lot of people have already told me that the interview looks great, it's really cool, and all this stuff, I mean, I myself am my own worst critic. And I was like, that thing was terrible. There was a crap ton of background where a lot of people say, oh, we could actually hear you. You looked like you were having fun. The other guy looked like he was having fun. I look at the interview and I say, it was terrible. It had a lot of background noise. We didn't have a proper microphone. One of the cameras was doing 1080p. The other camera was doing 720p and wasn't on a tripod. One of the camera was on the tripod. We had to readjust the frame. You know, I'm looking at all these things that went wrong. Like, I'm just completely killing myself because I had this amazing opportunity and I feel that I didn't take full advantage of it. But anyways, as I wanted to say, the idea for the twin cameras actually came from my girlfriend because I was just shit nervous. I was crapping bricks. Like, you couldn't tell by looking at me. I mean, maybe you can tell on that picture that I posted on Facebook with the developers where I'm smiling in a way that it looks like I'm about to explode. But there you could probably tell that I'm nervous. But I mean, when I was before the interview, you couldn't really tell that I was nervous because I was like, you know, holding myself back. But I was just like crapping bricks. I couldn't even think. And so my girlfriend tells me, so you brought the flip camera, right? And I'm like, yeah, I brought the flip camera. Yeah. And she goes like, oh, so maybe I should just point the big camera at the guy and I'll film you with the flip camera. And I was like, that's actually a good idea that I didn't really think of because I'm too busy crapping bricks. And so we start the interview. I just put the thing on record and I'm just like nervous. I didn't even know how to start. So before we even started, I just walked up to the guy, shook his hand, which I noticed a lot of people didn't do. And I was like, so you're not supposed to greet the guy? I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. You just sit down and start talking to him. You don't even greet him. You don't introduce yourself. I noticed some people didn't do that. And I was like, that's weird. Is that a thing? Like, I don't care. Like, I went over and when it was my turn, I just walked up to the guy and I'm like, hey, I'm Rui. And he was like, bro, he tried pronouncing my name, completely butchered it. And I said, no, it's R-U-I. And he's like, oh, okay, I'm Jason. And so then I sit down, I explained the name of the website that I was going with, so that, because obviously I want the website to succeed as well, because they gave me this amazing opportunity. So I said the name of the website at the beginning of the interview, and I told him this is PortugalGaming.pt, a Portuguese gaming website. And then I started the interview, and it was funny because one of my first questions was kind of like, you know, one of those questions to just get people in the mood to you know, just try to transforming it into a conversation as opposed to an interview. Because I had never done something that I have seen referenced throughout the internet as the interview tango, which is you're dancing with the interviewer to try and get as much information as possible. So my strategy was just like, look, I'm just going to try and make this into a conversation, and hopefully I can get as much information out of him as possible. But it didn't really happen. As you guys saw in the interview, a lot of times he just said, I can't talk about studios' future developments. But I thought the first question was really fun. Like, so what happened to Kratos at the end of God of War 3? Just like that, just like straight out the window. You know, I thought that was cool. But he took it really playfully, and I think he was having fun too. At least it looked like it. And in my interview, something even happened, which was Mark Simon had finished his interviews, and he came into the room where I was giving the interview to Jason McDonald, and he started making faces, and Jason cracks up. I even showed it on a little square screen. The guy was making faces because my girlfriend managed to capture it while he was doing it. So I thought that was funny. I thought that was really cool because I mean, everybody was having fun is where I'm getting at. But anyways, after that interview, I got them to sign 2 posters, one for me personally. So I have like a poster. Actually, I should have brought it here, but I don't have it here with me. But it's basically a poster that says God of War Ascension, and then it says to Rurikhan, Jason McDonald, and then I got Mark to sign it too. So it was it was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had since I started doing this, because I mean, these were two guys that were really just down to earth, which is why I said that they were really two amazing dudes. And they were just having fun with it. Everybody was having fun, as far as I could tell, and it was just a really great experience. Anyways, at the end of the press event, during the press event, I was told that there was going to be a fan event afterwards in a gaming store that we have. It's not really a gaming store. It's like a Best Buy. It's like a Portuguese version of a Best Buy. It's called FNAC, in our biggest shopping mall in Lisbon. So they went there, and basically, after the press event, I went to do the thing I told you guys about, the wedding gifts and whatnot. And after that, we went back to the place. And at that point, I hadn't eaten. This was like 3 p.m. I had not eaten. And so I go there, and I was thinking, man, maybe we'll have time to eat. No, there's no time to eat. Just rush ourselves to the store and get a good spot to try and start. Excuse me, to try and start filming again. So basically, I went there, and this time I actually stood up, which is why I felt that I did a much better coverage of the fan event than I actually did of the press event, because this time I was just like, you know what, fuck sitting down, I'm standing up, because this was in a store. This wasn't in a media room. So in a store, I know how I can or cannot behave myself. So I'm like, screw this. I'm standing up, and I'm going close to the stage, and I'm going to film everything. So that's why I felt that the fan event, I actually did a lot better coverage of it. But then again, on the fan event, I also wasn't really concerned about doing an interview. I had already asked all my questions, so I was just concerned of picking up, fans asking questions, the interaction of the developers with the fans. And it was a blast. I really recommend, if you guys haven't saw those videos yet, to go back and see. And it was amazing. It was just, like I said, it was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had since I started doing this, and it's something that I would definitely like to do again. Now, obviously, what happened with this, and the reason why I'm so tired, is that I didn't eat until I got home, which was around 6. And when I got home, I just grabbed everything I had, like all the footage from the flip camera, all the footage from the big camera, and I'm just like editing, getting audio out, seeing if I can do anything to optimize the audio. I'm like going ballistic crazy over this. And then I noticed, when I noticed the time, it's like, oh, it's 5 a.m. I slept 4 hours, and I've been awake for 20 hours, and it's now 5 a.m. And I'm just dead tired. But everything was fully edited, both for my channel and for the Portugal Gaming channel, because obviously I wanted to do coverage for them as well. And yeah, I mean, it was an amazing day. And after I did all the editing, I just uploaded the one video, the press event video, and I went to bed. And then I woke up with a massive migraine today, and just completely and utterly wasted. And I don't regret a thing. Anyways, this has been the story I wanted to really tell you guys about the experience I had. And this video is now 64 minutes long. I think the background footage that I had planned for this video was going to be God of War, but I just don't know. I just don't know at this point. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys enjoyed the coverage that I did of God of War. Feedback highly encouraged and much appreciated. And I'll see you guys in the next one.